All right, now I'm recording. So, where do I even want to go with this one? So, I do have a tarot of the day that's taken care of, and actually, the tarot of the day is the One second, let me cut this TV off. More than anything. So, the tarot of the day is actually the Hangman in reverse. And if you're in a tarot, I know typically people tell you, you know, don't learn your reversals. You know, there's already too many major arcana, minor arcana cards for you to memorize on your own. It'll just be too much. But no, I do recommend that you know, as you do learn on your journey, to take the reversals into account. How I was taught and how I was learned. When you have a card in reverse, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean a good thing or a bad thing. It just means a blockage, something that you really need to pay attention to, something that you need to, you know, direct your, like, most of your energy towards. And that card can easily be, you know, reversed. That's why if I am doing a tarot reading for somebody and it pull it in reverse, I always show it to them in reverse. But as I'm doing the reading, I flip it over to show them the possible outcome of, you know, their particular reading. So mine was actually today the um the hangman in reverse. Now, you know, the hangman normally, he's the guy who's standing up on the on like the tree post, and he has his leg bent and he's looking, and he has the halo around his head. You can just easily Google it if you want to know what it looks like. If you're watching me, you know what it looks like. And it's all about like spiritual adventures, spiritual conquest, quote unquote enlightenment, opening up your mind to like newer stuff, to like newer beings, or whatever you want to say it is. And it's a really cool card when it's straight up. You know, it's basically saying, hey, you're on basically the path to whatever you want to call it, enlightenment. And when it's in reverse, it's basically saying, you know, maybe you're too locked in to the 3D. You know, maybe you've been, you know, and it's funny because this kind of ties into the other video that I was making, where, you know, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Hey, you might have gotten deceived this one time on this one spiritual path, but that doesn't mean you should totally neglect your spiritual path. So that's what the hangman in reverse means. Like, you know, just take everything with a little bit more discern. And it's a really cool card. You know, when you really get into the depths of it, it is a major arcana card. You know, you have your major and you have your minor. So typically when the major arcana cards pop up, it's quote unquote divinely inspired. So you should really, really pay attention to it. So that's getting on the whole topic of reversals and the tarot of the day, which was the hangman in reverse. And if you're learning tarot, you need to learn, you know, your reversals too. I'm not saying devote all your energy to it. You should definitely know the basics first, but don't just completely neglect the reversals, because then you gotta go back and then, you know, they kind of misstrued it, and I can just see a person who's trying to learn it, and then like they get all the basics down, and then it's like, oh, I gotta go back and learn the reversals. That would stress me out. So just learn them along the way. You know, just take a quick mental note. But I don't see reversals as anything bad or good. I see it more as a blockage. And when I'm doing a reading for someone, if it's in reverse, I tell them like, hey, you can do this, and this card is easily standing upright. But it's so cool about the hangman is that, you know, when it's normal, the guy's upside down, but when it's in reverse, the guy's actually upright up. So that's something to keep in mind too, because then when he's reversed, he's actually standing upright, so he's not upside down. That's really something for you to look into. When I think of the hangman, I think of you know, definitely more Pisces type energy, kind of 12th house type energy. If you're into astrology, the subconscious mind, and you know, either upright or reversed, it's something that you should pay attention to, and something you should definitely learn. All right, so we got that out of the way. You see, I'm definitely getting into a little bit of flow with these videos. Gosh, I just wanted to more also talk about, more like a story time, get out the tarot of the day and talk to you guys more about story time and kind of, I don't want to say the status quo, but these are the types of stuff that I go through as a, quote unquote spiritual person, if you want to put it like that. And you got to understand, like, not everybody's going to vibe with your energy. And sometimes you have to really protect yourself and protect your energy. But at the same time, you will meet people few and far that sometimes, man, you won't even have to tell them anything. They're just going to feel it off of your spirit that, like, I know this person, I know what this person is about, and they're going to connect with you. And sometimes you can just be talking with a person for like 5-10 minutes, but on the flip side, you're going to have a lot of people who are not going to see eye to eye with you at all. They're just going to think you're strange and weird and don't have your shit together type shit. So that's just something to keep in mind. And I'm speaking from experience. I don't want you to get like discouraged if you don't have people that don't quote unquote fuck with you. And I know that bleeped it out. YouTube does a lot of censoring now. As long as you're on your path and what you're supposed to be doing, and you spread your light, or however you want to say it, the people who are meant to be in your life are going to be in your life. As long as you're not like disrespecting the other person or disrespecting their views, which is that's not something that I wouldn't do, at least not willingly. But I am the type of person, I will speak my mind on certain stuff. I guess I can thank my Uranus first house, because I do have Uranus and Neptune first house. On that type of stuff, I'm very radical or irrational, however you want to put it. Once again, thanks to Uranus, and that's probably the next video that I'm going to make, because I don't really see a lot of the outer planets. So yeah, let's talk about the outer planets. Meaning Neptune, Uranus, Pluto. I guess you can say Saturn too. But more of the outer planets. Rarely see people making videos on them. Like, what do these planets do? Typically, they're called generational planets because they stay in that particular generation or sign for like 7 years or however many years. Your Saturn, that's why it's called your Saturn return. I think it takes like what, 20, 26 something years for the Saturn to make a complete full revolution around to the exact time that you were born. So the more outer planets, being specifically like Uranus and Neptune, and I don't really see a lot of videos on those, on the traits of, what particular houses those can be in. So I'm going to give you kind of a little bit of mine. So if you have my placement, hey, here you go. I don't quite know when I'm going to title the video, but I will do like this, Uranus first house. So when you're coming across a Uranus first house, you got to think, when do you think Uranus? It's more of Aquarius type energy. Somebody actually told me Uranus is actually the higher octave of, what was it, Venus or Mercury? I'm so sorry if I butchered that. So it's intelligence, it's definitely intelligence, but it's outer worldly intelligence. It's a shaker up intelligence. It's those type of people that come along, once every blue moon type thing. And they come with their views are just so out of the box, but they're so smart. And another thing too, if you have Uranus first house, you may find a lot of technology messes up around you too. That's probably due to your, Uranus in your chart or wherever it is. And they're just so radical too. It's radical energy too. It's an intellect. It's radical. It's revolting. It's basically, they're the Viva la vida. That's what I think of Uranus type energy when I see it, especially in your first house. Because now, when you're talking your first house, you're talking like your core personality. Obviously, your sun sign is your personality. That's who you are, and your rising sign is more of like who you perceive to be. But whatever planets, and don't forget that ruling sign, whatever planet is in that first house, that is definitely going to affect how that sun sign is pushed out. So you may have, like your Uranus in your first house, and then on top of that, you may be Sagittarius. So that's kind of double, double rebel, because, in general, when you think Sagittarius, they are going their own path. And you think Uranus of this higher intellect, otherworldly intellect that most people just don't, they're kind of quirky. I get that. Like, at this point in my life, I'm like 27, I know I can be quirky at times. But especially if you just have Uranus in that first house and you don't really have any other planets to balance it out, they're going to seem kind of odd. That's not to say that odd is bad or odd is good, but that's just the typical traits of, Uranus type people. Also, I've seen, especially just from me reading and from my experience, like they may like walk differently or like dress differently. So when you're like analyzing a person and you're wondering like, okay, that person's a Libra, but their style is just so off. It could be, hey, you don't know what planets are in their first house. They can have a whole bunch of other stuff going on that can dictate, that Libra or that Gemini or whatever sign. In my case, it's Sagittarius. So very outer worldly people. And, that kind of ties into the hangman too, because, the hangman is, spiritual enlightenment. Hangman, spiritual enlightenment, either reversed or normal spiritual enlightenment, but there's key differences. The reversed is more, hey, are you blocking off the spiritual path? The normal one is, hey, you're on the spiritual path. New beginnings are opening up for you. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Because when I like to see people, because I see people, I ask them, what their sign is, or they may tell me what their sign is, but I know that there's a lot more to it, and wonder. I like to guess like what planets are in their first house, because the planets in the first house, in my opinion, kind of dictate more than the sun sign. And that's my opinion. Because typically I'd be like, oh, this is like a Mars person. I say a Mars person because this person may have Mars in their first house, so they're going to be very Aries type person. They're going to be very go forward, no bullshit type person, very aggressive. But guess what? If they have Mars in the seventh house, that aggression, or I don't want to say aggression, the warriorship goes towards more of their relationships and stuff like that, and with other people. So they may be aggressive with other people. So if you're like an astrologer like me, that's definitely something to take a look into. And when you pull up somebody's chart, you can see like, okay, I know my friend is like a Libra, moon or sun rising, but like, hey, I really want to know if they have any planets in the first house, which brings me to my next thing. If they don't have planets in the first house, which is completely cool, the sign that's at that house automatically rules that house. So essentially, whatever their rising sign will be, that will be the sign that's ruling their first house, and that will be basically the characteristic traits. So some people have empty first houses, and that's not bad. You're not. I don't know. I haven't run across anybody that has every house filled. I'm pretty sure there are people that has a planet in every house, but you're going to have normally empty houses in people's charts, and you can just kind of go from there. So that's just something to really keep in mind. Like I said, the tarot today, you can easily Google it. It is the hangman, and it was actually in reversed. But if I'm doing somebody's tarot reading and a card pops up in reverse, I just say that it's a blockage, and if you do this and that or change this and that, it can easily be turned upright. That's how I do mines. And we kind of just more talked about Uranus in the first house. I think where I'm going is a first house series where we can kind of talk about first house placements, and even if you have multiple planets in the first house, you have people that have like 4 planets, in the first house, 3. It's called like a stellium or something like that. And now you have all these energies kind of balancing out in this first house of the quote unquote ego of the core personality, and it can play out in a lot of different ways. So I think I'm just going to do like a first house series setup where I just kind of go through all the planets and what I would see that person is. So this one was basically like a Uranus first house, very unpredictable. I won't say irrational, tech savvy, kind of quirky, and they pretty much embody an Aquarius. You know, they bring that Aquarius energy to their first house, to their core personality. So they may not even be an Aquarius, but they have Uranus first house. And they carry some of that energy too. And I think Capricorn's kind of in there too with the co-ruler with Uranus. Yeah, and these are more of the outer planets. We can get more to the core planets, but I really don't see a lot of outer planet videos like that. So if you were interested, I hope I kind of shed light on more of like Uranus in the first house and kind of what it represents. I gotta check back and see. It's the higher octave of either Venus or Mercury. I don't know which one off the top of my head, but it's basically a higher octave of that type energy. And that's, you know, how that person is going to be. You're staring at one, Uranus first house, but I also have other planets too. So that kind of ties in what I was speaking about earlier. You know, it's kind of how all these planets coexist. People look up at the skies and they think these planets don't have nothing to do with anything. They're just up there and they're not kind of like influencing. I'm not going to say they're dictating what we do and how we do it, but they definitely have influence, just like the moon, just like the sun. These planets influence our characteristics to a degree, you know, because you have free will and you can do what you want to do, but they do have influence. And, you know, it's cool to look into them and see all the different possibilities and stuff. I think that's enough for this rant. I'm thinking about what I'm going to title the video. Maybe Uranus first house, because we did talk about that a lot. And the next planet will most probably be Neptune. And we can talk about Neptune because there's a lot of cool people with Neptune, a lot of actors, you know, that have Neptune in their first house or prominent in their chart. And that is about it, guys. You guys have a good one.